The following program is from NET, the National Educational Television Network.
Look at a flower. Have you ever looked at a flower? Or you have looked at it, given it a name, and passed it by. Or you have said, how beautiful, let me smell it. All these are distractive actions which prevent you from looking at that flower.
The speaker is Krishnamurti, one of the more challenging and creative men of our time. During the past 4 decades, the writings and talks of Krishnamurti have attracted an increasing audience in Europe, Asia, and America. This series represents the first time that Krishnamurti has allowed his talks to be filmed. In this second of 8 programs, filmed principally in the Ojai Valley in California, Krishnamurti, in public talks and in informal conversation, speaks directly to the fundamental problems of today. In particular, he speaks of the problem of change and suggests that the real problem is not changing society, but changing ourselves.
Go to football, go to various forms of entertainment, including churches, but it has no meaning. Is it possible to empty the mind of the known? One must have asked this question vaguely or with a purpose, because one suffers, one has anxieties, whether it's possible to go beyond, or one has vague hints of it. Now we are asking it, we are asking it as a question which must be answered, as a challenge which must be responded to. And this challenge is not an outward challenge, but a psychological inward challenge. And we're going to find out whether it is possible to empty the mind of the known. Look at that oak tree. Actually look at it. You are the observer, and the oak is the observed. There is a space between you and the thing, which is the tree. In that interval of space is time. Right? The time that has to be covered to see, that's the object. In that interval of space, there are all kinds of ideas which actually prevents me from seeing the fact of that tree. When you no longer name, no longer thought functioning as knowledge about that tree, then is there a space between you and the tree? Then, if you go into it very deeply and observe all this, then the observer is the observer, which is not the observer identifies himself with the tree. Observer is the image which has been created.
Observer is the image that has been created.
He's the censor, the entity that judges, compares, all that. Now, and then he looks at the object. Either the tree or his own experience, or his image, his relationship with somebody, another. So the observer is the image looking at the image which he has created about the other. So the relationship between the observer and the observed is not a relationship. It's two images looking at each other. Huh? Now, if the observer when the observer has no image at all, which is quite a tremendous problem, inquiry, which is meditation, all that, then the observer is the observed. What is the observer. Not the observer is looking at what is. Right.
When the observer is the observed, and the observer has always acted as though the observed is something different from himself, then he could act. But when he realizes that the observer is the observed, all action ceases on his part. And therefore all effort. And therefore there is no fear at all. This requires a great deal of inward inquiry, inward observation, step by step without coming to any conclusion.
Why do you choose? What is the necessity of choice? If you see something very clearly, as we just now saw what freedom implied, and when the mind is only free that it can see the total, when you see that clearly, there is no choice. It's only the confused mind that chooses.
Awareness takes place only when there is no choice, or when you are aware of all the conflicting choices, conflicting desires, the strains, just to observe all this movement of contradiction. And knowing that the observer is the observed. And therefore, in that process there is no choice at all, but only watching what is. And that's entirely different from concentration. And that awareness brings a quality of attention. In which there is neither the observer nor the observed. When you really attend, completely attend. Like when you're now, if you're really listening, there is neither the listener nor the speaker. And that state of attention brings about an extraordinary freshness, youth, not youth. In America they use that word terribly. The extraordinary sense of freshness, quality of newness to the mind. And this emptying of the mind with all the experiences it has had is meditation. If you observe very closely, and that's one of the most arduous things, and that doesn't need effort at all, just to sit of an afternoon whenever you have time and leisure, to look at it. To look at a flower, to look at yourself, to look at all the movement of your thought and your feelings and your reactions. Just to observe without any choice, which is the beginning of self-knowing. And without self-knowing, man is caught everlastingly in confusion and misery.
The thing that so strikes me in the talks and the conversations that I've listened to is the contemporaneity, the immediacy, the directness.
Yes.
Of
Our problems.
What we're talking about,
Yeah.
and of our problems.
Yes.
And I am at the same